Hi everybody and welcome to this week's parent training episode. This week we'll be talking about different principles of reinforcement. Reinforcement is a powerful tool that we utilize when we're teaching new behaviors as well as when we're maintaining behaviors. If you remember from previous talks, reinforcement is a consequence that increases the future frequency of that type of behavior that immediately precedes it. We often talk about positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Positive reinforcement occurs when something is added to the behavior that increases the future frequency of that particular behavior. Negative reinforcement occurs when something is removed following a behavior that increases the future frequency of that behavior. It's important to know for these terms, positive and negative, that we're thinking in the terms of adding and removing, not necessarily that they're good or bad. In both examples of positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, we're looking for a behavior to continue in the future. When we're looking to choose appropriate reinforcers, we must consider a few variables in order to keep the reinforcement differentiated. This includes thinking about the value of the reinforcer, the frequency in which the reinforcer is being provided, the amount or how much of a reinforcer is being provided, as well as the variety of reinforcers available. We'll be talking through each of these in more detail over the next few slides. One of the first few items we're going to talk about is the value of a reinforcer. When we're selecting appropriate reinforcers, the value of the reinforcer must match the amount of work it takes to earn that particular reinforcer. What this means is for new or difficult tasks, we must use a more powerful reinforcer. If something's going to take me more effort or more time, there must be a bigger payout in the end, so I must use a more powerful and effective reinforcer. This is different when we're working on either mastered skills or something that's a little bit easier. We still want to use a powerful reinforcer, but this can be something slightly less valuable. For example, if I'm being taught to tie my shoes, and this is a very difficult skill that takes a few minutes, I want to earn something powerful such as 5 minutes with an iPad once I'm finished. But if I'm being told to sit in my chair, I might simply get a high five for when I complete that task. The next thing we're going to talk about is the frequency of reinforcement, or how often a reinforcer is being provided. Sometimes we can use specific schedules of reinforcement as we're working to increase and maintain behaviors. Two common examples we frequently use are continuous schedules and intermittent schedules of reinforcement. Continuous schedules of reinforcement work to provide a reinforcer for every occurrence of a targeted behavior. So in this example of target behavior, this can mean any particular skill that we're placing a focus on. These continuous schedules of reinforcement should be used when we're teaching brand new skills as well as when we're teaching difficult skills. This means that every time that particular skill is observed, a reinforcer is going to be provided. So in our previous example, when we talked about tying shoes, every single time I were to tie my shoes, I'd be provided with a reinforcer. This is different than an intermittent schedule of reinforcement, which works to provide a reinforcer for some, but not all occurrences of a particular behavior. This type of reinforcement schedule is often utilized when we're working to maintain previous skills or skills that are a little bit easier to complete. In our previous example, when we talked about sitting in a chair, since that behavior is pretty easy for me, I might get a high five every 5 times that I complete that task, rather than every single time I sit in a chair. Another way to differentiate our reinforcement is to look at how much of a reinforcer is being provided. We can do this by providing the same reinforcer across these examples, but by providing a different amount or for a different amount of time. So for example, we have a small cheeseburger and a large cheeseburger here. When I complete a really difficult skill or something that's new for me, I might get a larger portion of that cheeseburger. If I'm doing something that's a little bit easier, I'm going to get just a couple bites. The same can be done with something like an iPad. We can vary the amount of time that we're allowed to play with the iPad depending on the task that we complete. So for example, if I'm completing something that's new or difficult, I might be able to get 5 to 10 minutes with the iPad. If I do something that's pretty easy or standard, something I do every single day, I might only get to listen to one song or watch one short video. As we continue our discussion on reinforcement, we want to also consider the variety of reinforcers being provided. It's very important to consider a wide variety of reinforcers to be able to provide so that the child does not become satiated or get sick of the same reinforcer being provided over time. We can provide things such as edible reinforcers, which can include sweet treats like candy or Skittles, or something like goldfish, grapes, raisins, basically anything that the child enjoys eating and finds preferable. You can vary the quantity of that reinforcer being provided as well. Sensory reinforcement is another way that reinforcement can be delivered. This can include simple things like tickles or maybe even a song being played. Tangible reinforcement is another one. So this can include maybe different toys or games that the child can physically access for completing a task. Again, making sure that we're picking toys that the child really enjoys, not ones that we think he enjoys. We can also include different activities as reinforcers. This can include maybe reading a story with mom and dad or playing a board game together. We can also include social reinforcers, hugs, high fives, social praise such as good job, buddy, awesome work. And we want to make sure that we're varying these different reinforcers. So the first time a child completes a task, they might get something like a goldfish, and the next time they're going to get a high five and a hug from mom and dad. Preference assessments are a really powerful tool that we can utilize when we're trying to identify reinforcers. It's important to note that we never want to assume that an item or an activity is serving as a reinforcer. We need to look at the child's behavior and the reinforcers they're selecting to really see if that item is truly a reinforcer or just something that they prefer over time. So preference assessments can be used to identify what is serving as a reinforcer, as well as how an individual ranks the available reinforcers. Preference assessments can be conducted by asking an individual what they want, looking at opportunities for them to select reinforcers, and observing child in the natural environment. For example, we can ask them choices. Hey, did you want a goldfish or did you want a cookie? We can also select a different variety of snacks, put them on the table in front of the child, and ask them to pick one. This can also be done with toys. You can make all of their favorite toys available, and then you can watch to see which ones they're actually going to select. The timing and the delivery of a reinforcer is a really important thing to discuss. Ideally, reinforcement should be delivered within 3 seconds of the desired behavior in order to be the most effective. For example, if we're teaching a child to clap their hands and we say clap your hands, the child completes the task and then we immediately deliver that reinforcer, we're guaranteeing that the reinforcer being provided is as a result of the child completing the task. If we were to say clap your hands, and then the child ends up walking away, and then we provide a reinforcer, we're actually reinforcing a different behavior, which was walking away in that circumstance. So we want to make sure that that timing matches up with the behavior that we're hoping to continue in the future. Remember, for those new behaviors, we want to use that continuous reinforcement to reinforce every occurrence of that desired behavior immediately following its presentation. That concludes our presentation on principles of reinforcement. I hope you enjoyed today's topic and are looking forward to our next discussion. Please visit our website at www.cbitherapy.com for more information and for additional presentations.